Hi, I'm Ian Thane, and I'm back again with DJ Adams. DJ, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me again.
We had a code talk a few days ago, and I thought I'd bring you back for something I've called Pay IT Forward. It does compute. Now, one of the things you're doing and we're doing at SAP is actually along those lines. So let's talk about the activity of teaching kids to program, and tell me how you're involved in that.
Okay, well, I'm involved in teaching kids to code in quite a few different ways. First of all, well, not first of all, but, just randomly picking one. There's Code Club. There's Coder Dojo. There's Young Rewired State, and there's also STEMnet activities. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths related to schools. So there's lots of different things. I mean, there's not just those, but those are the things that I'm involved with.
So are these very similar, or do they vary in some sort of way?
They vary. I mean, if you take Code Club is primarily aimed at primary schools, teaching kids around the age of 9 to 11. Uh, uh, there are different sessions or different curriculums. The first one, the most basic one, is based on Scratch. We have HTML, we've got CSS, HTML and CSS. There's Python, all sorts of different things. But it's focused on primary schools, and it's quite often either during or straight after school hours in primary schools. So that's what I run a code club, and I've done for the past year and a half at the local primary school just up the road, which is great in Woodhouses, Manchester. There's Coder Dojo, which is a really interesting, hugely energetic sort of event. We run one in Manchester every month. Monthly is usually the frequency. The frequency of Code Club is every week normally. So we run one every month on a Sunday. We're very lucky to be hosted by the Sharp project in Newton Heath in Manchester. We have about 150 kids come every month, and it's sort of like a youth club with programming. So we do everything from Scratch all the way through Minecraft and Arduino and hardware hacking and stuff like that. YRS is, or the main thing with YRS is a once a year code fest, a week-long code fest in the summer holidays. And then we've got STEMnet, which is all sorts of things, not just coding, of course. My involvement with STEMnet is related to coding, but it's sort of school related. So for example, volunteers like me will go and speak to classes in schools, or in fact, the last thing I did with my STEMnet hat on was go and teach teachers how to get to grips with the Pi, how to get to grips with thinking about teaching computational thinking with Scratch, for example. So there's lots of different things. It's all related around programming, or I prefer to think about it in terms of computational thinking, but it all revolves around programming.
So just to recap, you mentioned a few things already. You mentioned Scratch, you mentioned Python, you mentioned Arduino. Anything else I'm missing there that you've been sort of involved in?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, Coder Dojo is probably the most diverse because of the youth club element to it. So the the person who runs it in Manchester or organises it in Manchester, Stephen Flower, is very very keen. And I totally agree with him. He's very keen on making it not academic, and having it as a fun place to do stuff with kids of your own age and people with your own interests. So we've got everything from hammer beads, soft electronics, as in sewing electronics into clothes and bags and stuff, through Arduino, Raspberry Pi, getting things to work together, VVVV, which is really interesting sort of mapping stuff, all the way through to your more traditional stuff like Python and Scratch and Perl and so on. So there's all sorts of stuff, and we there's lots of kids who come along and play Minecraft. But not only do they play Minecraft, we're trying to encourage them, and we're having some success to start coding in Minecraft as well. There's huge possibilities in teaching them computational thinking by stealth, by getting them to code in either JavaScript or Python within Minecraft to do stuff that they would normally do manually, as it were. And as you know, Minecraft is a huge attraction for kids.
I'm going to put you right on the spot now. I'm going to say to you, should we be teaching all children to program?
Yes, is a simple answer, I think, but I'll rephrase the question, if I may. Should we be teaching kids computational thinking? I think the answer is yes. It's a core skill. Computational thinking encompasses programming, but it encompasses a lot more things as well. It encompasses, rigidity and analytic rigidity of thought, analytical skills, problem solving, creativity as well. It's all these different things rolled into one. It's just thinking logically. Programming is a big part of that, but it's not, the two things are not the same. Did you learn English at school? Did I learn English at school? Yes. Are we novelists now or poets? No. So we're not teaching all kids to become programmers, but we need to give them the possibility of at least having a fighting chance of our data-driven present and future.
I think it's also quite important the fact that they understand the capabilities of what's out there, and also through understanding the capabilities, they know, or they can then think about understanding how they can push the boundaries even further.
Exactly. I mean, I think for in the recent past, the computing curriculum that existed has sort of taught our kids to become Microsoft Office monkeys. Put out a well-formed document, or how to use a spreadsheet, or how to use an iPad. For goodness sake, what have we been doing? Let alone the fact that it's proprietary software. The more important thing is we're teaching our kids, or we have been teaching our kids, to be users. We don't want to teach them to be users. We want to teach them to be builders. So that's the whole thing about computational thinking and programming.
Totally agree. Now, one of the reason why I actually got you on here today was the fact that I've been blogging recently about how developers can get out there and do things differently, go to meetups, sort of broaden their sort of thinking. So you're a great example of actually taking that a lot further, and as I said already, paying IT forward. So how can some of the developers that may be watching today on CodeTalk get involved with this?
There's lots of different ways. So if you want to start locally, of course, Code Club is a great idea. If you go to the club, we'll post links after the talk. If you go to the Code Club website, there are schools looking for people like you and me, and developers watching as well, to be teachers. They're looking for people to produce content as well. So if you don't want to stand up in front of kids and you want to produce content, do that. It's really cool. Look for a Coder Dojo in your area, or start one. It's just basically a programming related youth club, which is great. So you can find a local Coder Dojo or start one yourself. Young Rewire State is an incredibly fantastic event. It's an annual event. I mean, there's lots of smaller events as well. But it's the annual event in the summer holidays. You can get involved in a centre near you, because it's things are all around the UK. YRS is sort of beyond the UK as well, but the main aspect is in the UK. Become a STEMnet ambassador. Approach your local STEMnet contract holder, STEM contract holder, and become a member. They will support you, for example, in getting your your CRB check, your Criminal Records Bureau check, that you need for schools engagements and so on. They'll support you with that. They're fantastic. So there's all sorts of different things that you can get involved with, and you can spend as little or as much time as you want. Dip your toe in and so on.
Well said. So just to reiterate for everybody, SAP are getting involved, and we have been involved in the past with YRS. YRS is not only in the UK, it's in the US as well. And I also believe Code Club, so I think it's www.codeclub.com, but Google Code Club. It started off in the UK, and I believe also there are Code Clubs arriving in the US as well. So DJ, thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate your time, and congratulations for paying IT forward.
Thanks for having me again. See you, Ian. Get involved.